So these 4 emojis, the dumpling, the takeout box, the chopstick, and the fortune cookie are in your phone from last year, November. I actually designed the original Unicode version, which is the official version for it. And I want to kind of share with you the design process and also kind of the fun story behind it. This was back in 2015. I got a text message from my friend Jenny Lee, who's a writer and also a founder from San Francisco, originally from New York. We met in New York 10 years ago, and both of us moved there in 2015. And then she invited me to go and have dumplings with her. And I realized there is no dumpling emoji. I texted back and said, I can't believe there's no dumpling emoji. And then she's like, yeah, good point. I'm like, this conversation doesn't go anywhere. But then I go back, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm a designer. I have imagination. I could probably make it happen. So I came back, and I came up with my very first serious dumpling emoji. I call it the bling bling dumpling, because it blings. So I sent it back, and she's like, I love it. And then, because she also is very deeply interested in publishing, she used to write for New York Times, and she said, you know what, we should publish it. And also, we also had friends around the world to come and have dumplings together for a party, and we realized that dumpling is very universal. Georgia have konkali, Japan has gyoza, Korea have mandu, Italy have ravioli, pierogi, pelmeni, empanadas, crepes, momos. So the most common kind of dumpling in China is called wonton. In English is wonton. In Chinese, Mandarin is huandun. What blows my mind is I realized that the Chinese character wonton is originated from huandun, which is primordial chaos. No joke. These things are related. Okay, wait for it. If you haven't got it yet, in the Ming Dynasty, which is in 1300 to 1600, in the classic Mountain and Sea, has an illustrated version of wonton, which is the primordial chaos. This really opens up a whole lot of discussion. Dumpling is so universal, and every single culture has dumplings. The reason why is, if you think about it, it's a primordial chaos in your mouth. Because you don't know what's inside until you take a bite. It's like a Schrödinger's cat. You don't know what's inside the dumpling unless you take a bite. You can find out whether it's vegetarian or pork or seafood. So every single time when you eat a dumpling, metaphorically, you're opening up a new universe. So this is very important work. So we had a very serious campaign on Kickstarter. We also tried to raise awareness and also raise funds. And in the meantime, we realized that the company or the organization that is in charge of our language keyboards on our phones universally for billions of people is this nonprofit organization that is based in Silicon Valley called the Unicode. So people from the Unicode, they are volunteers from Apple and Microsoft and IBM, so all the people that is dealing with linguistics, they come together, and this organization has existed for more than 25 years. So these people are super passionate about language and also culture, and they came to us after they see our campaign. They're like, this is great. We love your bling bling dumpling, but if you look at the existing emoji that has been published, most of the food doesn't have any face. So I took off the expression. They also give me a tip, which is the newer versions of food are 45 degrees. And so I had to kind of look at and eat more dumplings and put it in 45 degrees, come up with the 45 degree, and then they came to me and they said, you know what, we have a lot of requests of takeout boxes and chopsticks and fortune cookie. Maybe you can submit it together as a set. Again, this is not my work. It's not my job, guys. This is my calling. So I came up with this, and I went over and presented. One of the chair is Peter Imberg, accepted, and my friend Alalita, who's one of the board, at the time she was working at Twitter, tweeted on Twitter, obviously. And what's really interesting is that because the magical of the internet, Bobby, who's an expert in linguistic language and culture that based in Taiwan, tweeted back in real time and said, actually, the figure crossed chopsticks means impolite in China and Japan to the elders. Guys, I'm Chinese, born and raised. I didn't know about that. And it's true, because if you think about it, linguistically speaking, the Chinese language also have the simplified Chinese and also traditional Chinese, which is more complicated. So as you know, that language lost in translation is just like we're saying brekkie instead of breakfast, and sunny instead of sunglasses. It's the same thing. So a lot of things are being shortened. In a way, a lot of etiquettes are being, if nobody's remembering it or carry it, or nobody's really advocate for it, then it will be forgotten. So I wanted to kind of honor that piece of etiquette. I did some research, and it's actually valid. So instead of having it crossed, I made it sort of semi-parallel, because if you put it parallel, also people will think it's a drumstick. So you have to be very careful when you design, and also doing user testing. It's extremely important. And internet really allowed you to be able to do user testing in real time, which I think is amazing. So this was the redesign after Bobby's suggestion. And in autumn 2017, which is last year, finally, they are available on your phone. Yay! So this one is second takeaway, which is N for nurture, which is be ready to capture ideas anywhere and then execute them with people who can help and cultivate and foster its development.